All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you are all doing well. It turns out I somehow got a cold. Again, how did I get whatever kind of intestinal infection I got, but not get COVID? How did I get a cold, but not get COVID? I don't know. But we kind of figured out at this point. My mom actually got the cold like the last 2 days she was here, but we thought it was allergies. And then a couple days after she left, then I suddenly had it. And it was like all the same symptoms, but it just lasted longer for me because my immune system is not what it should be right now. So, but I'm feeling a lot better. My nose is a lot less stuffed, so hopefully I don't sound as sick today. I also yesterday opened the mail and found this. So cute, you guys. I don't understand why dogs, uh, but I love it. Oops, this seriously made me like feel so happy and loved. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hear that Emily and Jonah, you guys really spearheaded this. So thank you. And holy shit, Gwen, even if you hadn't labeled them, I would still be able to tell which one was Bert and which one was Ernie. Like, that's Bert's little face. She's the little one. So at least there was some cats on here. And at least they were my cats. So I love it. My favorite dog on the front is, I think it's this one. I like these little ones. They're cute. And they seem like, I feel like that's a kind of dog that a lot of the time when it runs around, it like trips and then like rolls. And I think it's really funny when dogs do that. So I'm going to save this forever. I love it so much. Okay. Yeah, I fucked up your assignment because when you submit an individual assignment, then your comment goes on your individual assignment. So I sort of just assumed it would be like that. It's not. So we just I don't know. So I'm gonna think about how to do that. Another thing I was thinking is I feel so disconnected from you guys. Duh, like I'm not there. And so I was thinking, like, what if we have a Remind account? Or if you know something better, if you have a class that does something better than Remind. Remind is just like the easiest one that I can think of. But like, as a way to like keep in touch better, you can use it to like send me questions. You can even just like send me a little like, hi, good morning. I don't know, whatever. Like, I would love that. Or like you see something and you're like, oh, I wish I could show this to Lathan, but like she's dying at home. I'm not dying. I'm, I'm getting better. I'm just a slow healer, apparently. You could like send me stuff. I don't know. So I thought, and you wouldn't, if you were like, Lathan, that's stupid. Like you wouldn't have to do it. But if you were like, yeah, I would love that. It might be cool. So let me know if you have a better idea than Remind. Because with Remind, like I think you can download the app. I think you guys, especially, I think I could too, but I don't know. But I think you can just do it like from as though it were text messaging. I don't know if that, although then it is like real text messaging. It's not iMessaging, and I don't know. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'll send out a message and ask for you to respond to the idea. Um, the real issue, the part of the issue is I fucking hate Schoology. I hate Schoology, and I especially hate Schoology messages because they don't always show up on my phone. I'm not always on my computer now, especially now. And even like when I get on the computer, I don't always go to Schoology. So sometimes I just don't see your messages. Plus, like if I see them, if they show up on the phone, I don't always respond on the phone because sometimes it's weird. And then like I forget that you messaged me. So I want to find something better than Schoology because I really think that exists. I think anything is better than Schoology. Okay, let's learn about the Palace of Versailles. Yeah, okay, Palace at Versailles. In Versailles. So here's a map. Now, I think one of my favorite things is like, I can't zoom in on this, but where all these modern day roads, and a lot of them are also older roads, like meet, like that's Paris, like right where the little red dot is. And then that, like, it's very close to Paris. Okay. And this is important slash to me funny because the reason they built the palace at Versailles is that Louis the 14th was like, it's too crazy here in France, or in France, it's still in France, in Paris, it's too crazy. I feel like my like, you know, my courtiers are like being influenced and then like trying to influence me. There's like too much scandal and gossip, so we're leaving. And then they go like 20 minutes down the road or something. Maybe not 20 minutes, but like even for back then, it was very close. And so he built this giant palace, and he built it so that his family, their courtiers, right? So if you've ever watched like an old movie, they always like have those people who like hang around and you're like, what's your job? And their job is literally to like just hang around. You know, and that's like, but they also like are sort of ladies in waiting and whatever. Those are like the courtiers. So all of them, all their servants, and a ton of soldiers would live here. The soldiers don't live in the palace, they have their own little barracks, but it ended up being like 20,000 people in total, including the soldiers. So yeah, that's a lot of people. Again, the majority of that is soldiers, and they're, I don't know where the fuck they are. Oh, my mom is texting me. Send her info of what? Oh, no, it's fine. She like saw my dentist out here. So not this last time. She's like, okay, why am I telling you about my dentist and my mom? Hey, the Palace of Versailles. My phone. So these two dudes made it. I'm gonna let you in on a secret. I never remember their names. So like, good thing I'm not at school, because if we had quizzes, I'd be like, who did this? These are two guys that I never remember their names. We're actually hitting a point where a lot of the time I don't end up remembering the artists, especially for things like the Palace of Versailles. You know, they're not like household names. Okay, stop talking, Julia. So Louis the 14th builds this thing. Louis the 14th, I mean, like they were all weird, okay, but Louis the 14th was definitely weird. He's not the one who gets his head chopped off. That's 16th. But yeah, builds this giant palace, brings all his peeps here. I love that in this photo of it, it's like, here are all the tour buses and the parking lot. But you know, this thing really is the palace. And then they extend a little bit, but then like this is the modern town also now. And then it has these like crazy gardens, but I'll show you a map. This is like 1% of the, maybe not 1%, like 10% of the whole area of the Palace of Versailles. Okay, great. Blah, 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 blah. There's this picture you have to know, like the front of the palace. There's this picture. This is the like marble courtyard. And then there's this picture. This is the Hall of Mirrors. And then there's this picture, some garden. Okay, great. So here is like the whole place. And the palace that we just looked at is right here. And in that first picture, we saw like this much. So maybe 10%. I can't estimate. Who cares? But like, it's all of this. Okay, it was freaking huge. Now, like the modern city, you can see like has sort of taken parts of it. But like, I don't know where it is. It might be within here. But like, if you know anything about Marie Antoinette, who is so fascinating. I think somewhere over there is where she had like her little peasant village. She had like she had this little like village created. It was like LARPing. And she would like dress like a really good looking, very clean peasant. And I think she even had like actors, and I mean, listen, they were extravagant. And then I think she also like had a mini palace near there because she wasn't always in the main palace. But anyway, this isn't about Marie Antoinette. So here I think is here's a satellite image of what's there now. So again, the city has really like, you know, over the years, people were like, fuck this, like give us some of this land. Here is the main portion of the palace. It kind of looks like a sun hat. It's like the brim, this is where your head goes, and I don't know why that's what but I always think it kind of looks like a hat. Or it looks like a very weirdly shaped upside down T. That's why I say a hat, because what else does it look like? I don't know. But anyway, it has like a long stretch here. It has this bit and then a long stretch here. I can't remember which one's which. I think that this is the chapel. That looks like the chapel. I think this is the theater. This red hallway is the Hall of Mirrors. And then there are rooms. And then obviously there's also multiple floors. This place has, you don't have to like memorize these numbers, and I don't have them written down anywhere for you, but it has 700 rooms. I don't know why this is important. 2,153 windows. That's a lot of wait. Oh no, people are arguing online. Doors versus wheels. Okay. No, I don't think windows is part of it. I'm team wheels. There's more wheels than doors. And it's 67,000 square meters of like floor space, you know. I wish that was in feet because I have no idea what that is. Okay, it's a lot. It's giant, basically. And the Hall of the Mirrors, Louis XIV was, again, like I said, a weirdo. And he was like, he called himself the Sun King. And he was fucking weird. And I don't know which direction he would go, but like they say that, I don't know, let's say like his bedroom was over here. And let's say like the dining room was over here. And so every morning he would get up and he would like walk through the Hall of the Mirrors to the dining room. And the Hall of the Mirrors, you know, on one long side that faces the garden, it's all windows. And then the other wall has a ton of mirrors. That's why we call it the Hall of the Mirrors. And so the light that comes in would like reflect off the mirrors, and it just like is super bright. And you'll see also like very fancy and statues and stuff. And so I don't know, people love the Hall of the Mirrors. They also signed, that's where they signed the Treaty of Versailles. What war did that end? I don't know. So hard when I don't remember these things, and then you guys aren't here to be like, it was World War II, Miss Lincoln. It was either one or two, I think. I don't think it was some other random war. Anyway, here's a close-up with the Hall of the Mirrors. And this is the marble courtyard we'll look at some point in a minute. Here's a fisheye view of, is it a fisheye? No, that's a panorama. What? I don't know. Who cares? Oh, pretty. Oh, nice. Now, this is aristocratic Baroque. Okay. But it's still Baroque. And I actually think you can see some similarities with like the Baroque churches we saw, where the outside is kind of like monochromatic, right? It's like usually just one color of stone. There are some like engaged columns, some nice details, but like really it's kind of simple. It's kind of simple, especially if we think back to like Gothic era where the exteriors were so ornate, right? And they had the tympanum and they had like the 3-part tympana and they had these crazy towers and all these little spikies and gargoyles. And we didn't see a lot of gargoyles, but you get my drift. But then the insides were like so ornate and fancy and crazy and over the top. And the same thing is kind of happening here. That the architects were those two guys whose names I don't know, were like, we're gonna keep the outside like, I mean, it's obviously it's still fancy and it's still amazing and it's still huge, but like the real opulence, the real richness is inside. Okay, that's a kind of blurry shot. Keep going. Okay. Oh, get my favorite thing. There's an orangery. You know, I love a good orangery. So there's an orange garden in the back, or an orange orchard, or whatever you want to call it. Are we talking about the garden right now? Is that what we're doing? I didn't look at the order of these slides. But anyway, so the gardens. This was kind of a new thing of the era, to like have gardens and to have gardens this huge and to have them this well manicured, right? To have these little like, oh, look at that, I'm going to shape it. And, you know, they have like a maze. I don't know if this place actually has a maze, but like gardens of the era, maybe they're going to have a maze, maybe they're going to have an area like with just one kind of flower and then just this, and they're like importing stuff. I mean, are oranges native to, I don't know where oranges are native. Florida? I don't know. I mean, like, I know Florida's the orange state or whatever, but I don't know if they're actually native to Florida. Are they native to France? I have no idea. I don't even really know the climate of France. Does it snow there? I feel like oranges are a trop. Okay. So what am I getting at? This is not natural. This is not natural. Like, you're never going to just show up in nature and see something like this. And so this is very like aristocratic, right? Like people who, anybody else, like they're lucky if they even have a garden, right? Like a little yard with their little house. Even like wealthy merchants are going to be lucky to have that. And this is something that has had a real holdover. Is that what I mean to say? This is held on for a long time. I mean, look at this. Parts of this are just grass. Where else do we do that? Oh, our own yards, like in the US and Europe, like it's a holdover from like aristocratic Baroque era. So down with yards. I'm a big proponent of down with yards and golf courses. Terrible for the environment. Terrible. But yeah, it's just like a status thing. So today when you get home from school, if you watch this during school, and if you have a yard, burn it. No, don't do that. Don't do that. This is California. That's so illegal. That's so illegal. Do not do that. I should try to cut this out of the video. Real quick, when I was growing up, we had a native prairie. Like my dad turned our yard into a native prairie. And I can't remember if it was spring or fall, I don't know, but we would do a prescribed burn. We would burn the yard and we had to like call the fire department and tell them we were doing it. My dad was a fucking weird guy. Anyway, but I guess that's one thing I learned from him. Fuck yards. You know what's really good? Clover. I'm trying to convince my mom, since they just moved back to Michigan, to get rid of the yard and plant clover. It's a different house than my mom and my stepdad live in. Anyway, Julia, fucking get on track. Sorry. I should have 2 lectures. One for those of you who enjoy when I get off track, and one for those of you who are like, I fucking hate when Lathan talks about stupid shit. Anyway, here's the queen's bedchamber. So very different from the exterior, right? There's like, first of all, how many little stools do you need? I don't know. That many? No. But everything in here that looks like it's gold is gold. Even this little like fancy thing, which they added later for like tourists and stuff to keep them out. Gold. Not pure gold. It's like gold coated. Chandelier, gold stuff. Everything that looks gold is gold. Here's another view of it. Oh, it's not as good a picture, but I think it kind of shows this crazy canopy with like feathers and stuff and the ruffles better. But it's just like, just so crazy and too much. There's a gallery in here with art. Here's the chapel, because you might need your own chapel. Beautiful. As much as that, you guys know the wealth distribution, the wealth disparity right now, 2022 is worse than it was when they like overthrew the French government. Just saying. Here's the opera, because you might need an opera. And here's that marble court. Yeah, all this gold stuff is gold. Gold clock, gold stuff, but it has this beautiful marble floor. This place is too fancy, too beautiful. Here's the Hall of the Mirrors. So you can see it's got all these mirrors on one side, all these chandeliers, all these crazy lamps, pretty paintings on the ceiling. And then you can see from the light, all these all these windows. Ugh. It's very fancy, this whole thing is about fancy. Okay, let's move on. I'm bored of this place. Look how fancy. Look at the part of this painting, fancy. Okay, and we're done with that. So again, we'll go back and look at the Hall of the Mirrors. We'll look at these lamps. So we've seen Southern or Italian Baroque, and that's just Baroque that happens in Italy, and it is mostly religious. I don't think we went over that, but Italy is like, so, because like the Vatican's there and stuff. Although, do they call it the Vatican yet? I have no idea, but that's where the Pope is. Because of that, like, so much of it is going to be religious. Then when we have aristocratic Baroque, and that's just, it's mostly, we're going to see it in France, Spain, Portugal. And it's just like fucking fancy shit, right? And it just, everything looks like over the top. Even our painting, right? Our Rubens, like, he had to go so over the top to like, if Henry the Fourth, was it the fourth? I think it's the fourth. If he actually got that portrait, he was probably just like sitting in a room somewhere, and they were like, here's the portrait of that lady we're making you marry, and he's like, okay. But they like fancy it up like that. And then Versailles, too fancy. So now we're going to look at what might be my favorite of the Baroques, bourgeois Baroque. But we're going to look at my least favorite of them first. So bourgeois Baroque is happening mostly I wish this was a bigger map. In the north, kind of where we saw the Northern Renaissance happening. And the bourgeois, that term means the middle class. Okay. I think that term has gotten skewed in recent history, like, because we'll talk about things being bougie and we mean like fancy, right? Like you'll say like, oh yeah, like Kim Kardashian, she's so bougie, right? I feel like that's how we do it. But that's not what we mean. Like Kim Kardashian, she's aristocratic. She's let them eat cake. Also, she never said that. Kim Kardashian or Marie Antoinette. Bougie is like popular TikTokers. That's bougie, right? They're like, they're up there, but they're not Kardashian. They're not Reese Witherspoon. Where did that come? I don't know. They're not A-list celebrity, rich Jeff Bezos types, Bill and Melinda Gates, rich. They're just like doing well. You know, some TikTokers do well. That's bougie. That's bourgeois. Or that's what it should be. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about art that wealthy merchants are buying, basically. Okay, great. So we're in Amsterdam. And this is Rembrandt. Rembrandt, let's pick a secret word. Bougie. Wait, how do you spell it the way we spell it now? Like if it was in a song. What's that? Is it like bad and bougie? Okay. It shouldn't be bougie because wait, let's Google it. Hey Siri, who sings that song Bad and Bougie? Okay. Oh, of course, it's Lil Uzi Vert, you guys. And here's how we're going to spell bougie for our secret word. Hate myself. Boujee. Is that really how we spell bougie? That can't be right. Like if you were to text a friend and be like, that was so bougie. You guys don't say it, do you? That's the problem. I'm behind. Nobody says it anymore. Well, listen, that's your first secret word. You can spell it any freaking way you want. What video did I have? I had a video on etching for you. I'll just post it somewhere. I don't know. I'll explain etching. But anyway, here's Rembrandt. He's one of our artists who we refer to by their first name. I don't even know how you pronounce this. How do you do that, Jay? Don't know, don't care. Rembrandt. Now, when we think of Rembrandt, we think of his paintings. Okay, that's what he's really famous for in the modern world. But he actually was at the time like the world's most prolific etcher, I guess. And he or maybe not the world's most prolific, but he did a lot of etchings. The other thing, I'm looking at my note because I feel like I actually have the number. Oh yeah, he did like 300 etchings. That's a lot. The thing that he's actually known for is doing self-portraits. Like dude fucking loved self-portraits, and he would like dress himself up and make himself look funny. But we're getting one of his etchings, which okay, fine, I guess I'm okay with. You know what I just realized? This actually does have the Rembrandt triangle, so we're going to talk about that. I just learned about this a couple months ago, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And so we'll get to talk about it. Let me move the mouse. Okay, let me have a drink. Let me tell you about etching. This is a form of printmaking. I think it's the coolest one, honestly. Here's what you do. You take a piece of metal. Oh, I get to use props again. I'm going to take this IKEA thing I bought. Oh, wait, I was going to give this to Richard and Lisa because I bought 2 of them. Okay. Not going to use the card you got me. Okay, I'm not going to use a prop. Actually, I will use this thing. You take a piece of metal. No. Yeah. Take a piece of metal. And you put a thin layer of wax over it. You just like melt some wax, let it dry. Great. So now you have a piece of metal with wax. Then you take a stylus and you scrape away some of the wax, okay? As though you were just drawing, right? And so you're scraping away. You can see where you're scraping the wax away. And you make your image, right? Then you take your metal that has wax on it, but now some of the wax has been scratched away, and you dip it in acid. Yes, I said acid. What kind of acid? I don't know, you guys. But whatever kind of acid they had in the 1600s. All right. So you dip it in acid. Well, the acid doesn't eat away at the wax, but it does eat away at the metal. What kind of acid eats away at metal and not wax? I don't know about acid, you guys. But that's what happens. So where you scratched, the acid eats away at the metal and it etches it, right? Like we've talked about engraving where like you take a stylus and you actually like scratch the metal really hard. This way, you're essentially doing the same thing, but you do it with an acid instead of like brute force. So then you take it out, you heat it up, all the wax comes off, and now you have a plate that is etched, right? That has an image like gouged out of it by acid. And then it's the same. Then you put ink on it, you make sure it gets into all those little etchings, you wipe it away, right? So that like the parts that weren't etched away are clean. Then you take a piece of paper, smush images on the paper. Why go through all of that? Why not just draw a picture? Okay, well, number one, as we know, with printing, you can get copies, right? You can make a bunch of copies. Okay, well, then why do this acid thing instead of just like the scraping? Etching in particular, okay, so using the acid way, gives you a quality of line that you cannot get in any other form. And you guys seeing the pictures here on the screen is not going to do it justice. You really have to see an etching print in real life to be able to understand, okay? Because think about it this way. Let's take etching versus just like drawing, okay? If you're drawing with a pencil and imagine, like writing your notes or drawing a picture or whatever with a pencil, especially like a wooden pencil. It's the same to an extent with a mechanical pencil, but especially think of a wooden pencil. When you sharpen a wooden pencil and you start writing right away, everything you write is like really crisp, really clean. And the more you write, the thicker your lines get, right? Because the duller your pencil's getting. And so you really cannot guarantee a consistency of line with a pencil. And it's the same thing with a pen. But with a pen, it has to do more, especially in this time when they don't have like a Bic, right? Although Bics do this too. But think about like, they've got like quill and ink, right? And so like the first time you dip the quill, it's going to have a lot more ink on it. And as you go, that ink runs out and then you got to dip it again. So again, you're not getting a consistent quality of line. Even with engraving where you have metal again, but you're scratching it, you might be pushing down at different degrees of pressure. What? You might be pushing, you might be scratching harder or softer, and you can't really like, it's too hard to make sure that you are like consistently scratching at the same pressure. So again, you're not going to get a consistent line. With etching, all you're doing is taking a stylus that won't wear down like a pencil, doesn't need ink like a pen, and all you're doing is removing a little bit of wax. So it's not really about like pressure. So the lines you get can be so crisp and so clear and so consistent, and you have such control over it. Again, like you really can't tell just looking at the screen, but it's truly amazing. And so, you know, if you ever are at a museum and there are some etchings, like really try to look and see what that's like. She's trying to adjust me. Oh, my foot's asleep. Now it's stuck on the blanket. Okay. So yeah. So anyway, here's a self-portrait Rembrandt did of himself and Saskia, his wife. Yes, it's a wife. This is usually the point where people are like, that's not a child. No, it's not. The idea is she's further back, so she's a little bit small. The perspective is a little wonky, and she really looks like a child for some reason, but it's his wife, Saskia. Okay. So here it is. I'll show you some close-ups to try to give you details of the line work, but again, this is where like hatching and cross hatching is going to be really important. We can in some areas really see that like we just have a little bit of hatching, but then like when you get into the darker areas, you'll be able to see like how many different directions you can go. And one thing that I think is truly amazing is that like from, you know, if you're sitting at a normal distance from your computer right now, you can see the outline of his face right here. But in a minute, I think I have a close-up of like right there, and then you can't tell. Rembrandt really was very good at this whole etching thing. Like really, really amazing that he could do that. So here's a close-up of, oh wait, I don't know if I have the full shot again, because who knows whenever I do that. So let me talk about the Rembrandt triangle. This is the Rembrandt triangle. Oh, I just got so hungry. Oh, when did I eat breakfast? Oh, a while ago. Okay. I'm gonna have to have lunch after this. The Rembrandt triangle is a lighting technique that Rembrandt employed a lot, where you light especially one side of the face, but keep the other mostly in shadow. But there's this like triangle of light that hits the, I don't think I have a, oh, the light isn't even on. I don't have a light source good enough to show you this, but like, I don't know, you can do it like in a dark room with a lamp or something, but there's always like this little triangle on your cheek that'll be lit up if you get it at just the right angle, or angle the light. And this was just like the thing of his. So he's holding a stylus. This was that's the tool for etching, so that's kind of cute that like in his etching he's holding an etching thing. I also think it's really interesting to see the way that he does like the lines, even in like his mustache. The lines for hair have a different quality than just like shadowing lines. Like, you know, he really gives them that like hair texture, hair shape. I mean, here, like this close, actually this close, you can even still see it a little bit, but like, but again, you can see like where it ends up being hair again. It's just truly amazing, his technique with etching. And look, he wrote his name. That's so cute, Rembrandt. Do I have anything else I want to say about this? One thing, which doesn't stand out to us, but he and his wife in this are wearing clothing that would have been the style like 100 years before their time. So again, like that all kind of blends together for us. But if like someone in 1636 had seen this, they would have been like, oh, this is from the 1500s. You making yourself look old timey. And he only twice in his career of all, you know, he's got like a gazillion self-portraits. That's what he was known for. He only twice represented himself in like contemporary clothing. Do I have anything else to say? I'm just looking at my notes. Okay, I don't think so. The last thing I'll say is that some of the lines of Rembrandt look darker than the lines of Saskia. And the way that he did that was that he actually etched this twice. He put it in the acid twice. Oh, now I have a headache. I gotta have lunch. How long have we been doing this? 40 minutes. Oh God, I'm talking too much. Basically, like which way would he could have done this a couple different ways, but like probably what happened was he did the etchings, I don't know, for himself, put it in the acid, let's say for 3 hours. I have no idea the timing, I'm guessing for 3 hours. Then he took it out, re-waxed it, maybe did the Saskia parts, and then only put those parts in for 2 hours, let's say. That's one way he could have done it. That's probably that's not the best way to do it, but I'm just telling you, like, you can sort of like do an etching twice, right? You just have to, the parts you then don't want, what he probably did was actually did everything, then covered Saskia, and then did the rest of himself. It was probably the opposite. But you can do that. Okay, great. Here are some Rembrandt paintings that you might be more familiar with. This one's very, very famous. I think my mechanic guys, yes, my favorite mechanic calendar guys did a recreation. This might be his most famous, The Night Watch. What TV show did I just see this in? I feel like it was Killing Eve. Maybe like season 2. I don't know, but this one's crazy famous. It's huge also. Here's a self-portrait. See a little triangle? Self-portrait, little triangle. Self-portrait, oh, not so much of a triangle. Here's him and Saskia again. Oh, they're like funny pirates in a bar or whatever. Here's Saskia, little triangle. I love this one. The lighting. Again, this one is especially great to show that this still has all the elements of Baroque art. This one especially. I love this one. And then here are some etchings. Okay, cute windmill. Okay, some nice tree. I do love this one. I do love that. Jesus and the other guys. Jesus. This one's funny. This one. I think this is the one in the video I'll try to post for you that they look at. Okay. Oh, now one of my absolute favorites. This isn't the last one, is it? What else do we have in this lecture? Oh God, I know which other one we have. Okay, we'll finish this lecture. I think we can finish it, and that'll be the end of the lecture or the video. All right, woman holding a balance. Love this. We're still in Amsterdam. Here we go. Vermeer. I love Vermeer. Love Vermeer. Girl with a Pearl Earring. Great movie. Accurate? No. Great movie. Super fun. Anyway, here we go. Woman holding a balance. I think it's, I'm sure there are people who would be like, I can't believe we don't have Girl with a Pearl Earring. We're glad we have this. Girl with a Pearl Earring is too simple. We want this. So, Vermeer. Okay. Oh, it's tiny. It's tiny. Oh, I really got a headache. I'm not drinking enough water. Okay. We've got a woman. She's holding a balance, hence the title. But here it is, right? A tiny little balance. And this is an old timey, you know, they don't have scales. They can just be like, bing, digital number pops up. So you like put something on one side and then you have like a known weight on the other, and you can tell if it's heavier or not, and you can figure out how much things weigh. Do we understand? I hope we understand. She's there. She's got what looks like a jewelry box open with some like jewels, you know, like a chain and some pearls, a little ribbon, part of a probably pearl necklace. But there's also some coins here. So it seems like she's weighing either like her jewelry or the coins or who knows what. She's at a table. It's got some nice fabric on it too. Who knows what that is? Looks like maybe this is a mirror on the wall because that looks kind of bright, you know, like it might be reflecting. Seems as though we have a window over here with a curtain in front of it. And then there's a big painting in the back of her. Okay. I don't know what slides are coming next. I feel like it's the perspective ones. Yep. Oops. Why didn't that change? Oops. There we go. Okay. So the vanishing point is like right at the tip of her pinky. Okay. So that's adorable. And then the exact center point, if you bisect each side, is like where the scale is. So it's like pinky and scale are two clearly important parts. So obviously the focus, right, like where your eye is going to be drawn pretty quickly is here. And that's definitely helped by like the light color of her head gear, hat, and the white of her half coat, short sleeve coat. What are people wearing? So that's cute. So here we go. So here's the scale. Here's her teeny little pinky, like she's drinking tea. Again, looks like some coins, pearls, gold chain, pearl, right? Here's another little box that's open. There's nothing on the scale currently, so it seems like she's waiting for it to like level out, like maybe she just took something off. Okay, there's this painting behind her. Take a moment, because you know what scene this is. You're right. It's the Last Judgment. Again, we never freaking get rid of the Last Judgment. Jesus up at the top. People with him in heaven. People coming out of the grave. It's kind of hard to tell, but over here is going to be hell. Bada boom. So, this can't be coincidental. Coincidental? Not a word. Coincidental. A word. Can't be coincidental. Let's not talk about the window yet. Let's go back. Okay, that's fine. We have the Last Judgment. We have her weighing things. I mean, think back to Last Judgment of Hunnefer. They use a scale, right? So it seems like this painting is more than just like, lady. I mean, like, first of all, why is she weighing her stuff? What, like, that doesn't, you know, strike me as like a very common activity to be like, does it still weigh as much as it weighed last week? Something must be going on, right? Is she having to like value it because she has to sell it? Is there a reason she has to, like, why does she have to maybe sell it? Did she maybe did she just buy it and she like wants to know its weight, right? And weight is going to equal worth. Like, well, why did she just buy all this jewelry? What's going on? And is whatever's going on, is her, you know, accumulation or getting rid of activity, whatever, of this wealth, does it have some kind of like moral implication? Because we've got this like Jesus Last Judgment thing going on, you know, like, I'm asking all these questions. There are no answers, right? It's meant more as like a thought-provoking thing. Maybe you guys put it in here. I'll try to find the article and post it for you. But they recently have this Rembrandt that they realized like had a painting in the background of Cupid. that at some point someone had covered up the painting. They like painted over the painting in the painting, if that makes sense. And sorry, I was like, why did I bring this up? And so people now are like, well, what does having like a painting of Cupid mean for this painting? I wish I could stop using the word painting to talk about the painting in the painting. Anyway, all right, now let's talk about the use of light. Vermeer is really considered like the master of effects of light. And he does it in such a realistic and interesting way. So like we know there's a window up here. We have this like yellowish, mustardish, I don't know, curtain in front of it, but we can tell that it actually, like the window actually isn't very big, or at least like it doesn't go down very far, because we can see that like only part of the curtain is lit. We can also see that only part of the wall, right, this is like a corner of the room, is lit. But then you also right here, you have this little bit of yellowed wall, which is actually the light coming through the yellow curtain and hitting the wall, right? This is like where there's a gap, right? Where it's like kind of coming, the light is coming through from the side, but then you have like the dark space. I mean, it's super, super realistic. If we look at her, right, we can see that like one side of her face is lit, you know, more because that's where the light's coming from the window. But he also does really beautifully like how dark one side of her hat, I'm going to call it a hat because I don't know what to call it, a bonnet, one side of her bonnet is darker, but like we know that this inside part of her bonnet won't be this dark because this also has like her head blocking it, right? But it's maybe like a light linen or something. So that's going to be darker than say like where the light is really striking it, but not so dark as this. Like it's just so good. Here's something amazing, just like with that painting I was talking about a minute ago with the Cupid, where someone paint like, right, there's a Vermeer painting, and in that painting, just like this one, there's a Last Judgment painting. That other painting had a painting that was a Cupid, and then someone painted over it. Someone actually did the same thing here. Oops, too far. What they painted over is this. See how it's not there? This is what it looked like before they restored the painting. Someone was like, I don't like the gold of the frame. And so they painted over it. And then like whenever whatever museum got this, they were like, no. You know, they like X-ray and can tell, and I don't know what other kind of tests they have, and they took it off. And it actually seems like something so small, but makes such a difference because what's really happening, right? It could seem odd, and like you can kind of understand why someone at some point, whoever owned this, would do it, that they were like, why is it so bright gold here and dark here? Like, why isn't it the same? Well, my dude, this is the kind of frame that I'm not getting up and getting a frame. No, sorry. It's not a flat frame. This is the kind that's like beveled. You can even see right now on my hands that I've beveled them, that this hand is getting more light from my grow lights on the wall than this one, right? This one is more in shadow than this one. That's what's happening. And more than that, more than it just being natural and like what it would really look like, the gold here balances the gold here so nicely in this painting. We still have to have that mini lecture, maybe next time. But yeah, okay, that's this painting. Let's look at some others. Girl with a pearl earring. Can't get away from her. Here's one, the milkmaid. That's cute. Girl with the, she's got a wine glass. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, wait, let's go back. Now, here's the cool thing. Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. Not that. Look at this one. Most of his paintings are in a corner with a window, because he did all of these in his workshop, which was in his house. It was like the top floor of the house. Again, they do a really cool job showing it in the movie. I want to watch Girl with the Pearl Earring tonight. I think I'm going to do that. And he even had like mannequins that he would set up, or if you believe the movie, he had one of the maids. But yeah, so right, corner, window, corner, window. You can't see it because of this, but you can tell from the light that there's a window over here. In fact, sometimes the floor is even the same, because that might be what the floor actually looked like. So I feel like, again, corner, window. I feel if College Board ever gave a Vermeer as a attribution piece, it would be one that's corner, window. It wouldn't be the little street. He also just did some stuff out in the town. So the Delft, that's this river. And a lot of the artists who worked in, especially Amsterdam at this time, we call them, that we say that they're part of the Delft school, and Vermeer was one of them. That just means that like it was a group of artists who were working around the same time and had pretty similar styles. There are a lot of other artists of this era whose work looks similar to Vermeer. But Vermeer is really like the tippy top. Okay, cool. Last piece, and this one is a lot quicker, and it's 57 minutes. Perfect. So fruit and insects, we're still freeing it in Amsterdam. All right, Rachel Ruysch, one of our few female artists, so that's nice. One weird thing is this isn't actually typical of her style. Her style, I'll show you her other pieces. She mostly does florals. But this one's cool. This one might actually be easier for us because there's like a bit more we can glean from what's in here. But yeah. Okay, so Rachel Ruysch. Let me pull up the notes on this piece in case I have 0 notes on it. That sounds about right. It's fine. Okay, so we've got fruit. We also got vegetables. Because I don't know, like a squash, that's like it's a squash. Is a squash a vegetable? Who cares? And then you've got some insects. You've got, actually, a lizard isn't an insect, but that's okay. You've got a snail, a butterfly, a fly, a beetle. Here's like a, what do you call that? Dragonfly, another fly, but then also like some little egg guys in a little nest. Okay. First of all, very Baroque, right? Amazing use of light. Like the fruit even is like on a diagonal. Really interesting. Okay, great. Who cares? There's actually kind of a lot going on. You might just be like, if fucking fruit and insects, like, ooh, what? First of all, you've got, okay, what is that, like a chestnut? I have no idea. These look maybe like peaches. You've got grapes, you've got corn, you've got squash, you've got other grapes, you've got, again, maybe is that a chestnut? Plum? I don't know. These are all things that do not grow at the same time. I'm not saying that none of them grow at the same time. Is this a pear? It looks like pear shaped, doesn't it? But you don't harvest these things at the same time. So first of all, this painting is like impossible in a sense, because you can't have all of these, you know, they don't have greenhouses the way we do now, or like refrigeration trucks or whatever, that like how did I just buy strawberries at Trader Joe's? I don't know, because I don't think it's strawberry season. So this is a little bit impossible, number one. So that's weird. And then like Just dropped my iPad. And then like, what's going, like, why insects, right? When we think of insects, maybe not like butterflies, and also a lizard is not an insect, but like when we think of flies on food, like that's not, even back then, like that's not something we want, right? That has like connotations of like decay and death. But all this fruit and veggies look really good. They don't look like they're dying. So like there are these weird like kind of contrasting things happening. Like you can't have all these things at the same time. Why do we have these insects when everything looks really good and fresh and clean? And then this one, I've always wondered if it's a little bit of a stretch, but whatever. College Board thinks this, so I'm gonna bring it up, that you have grapes and you have wheat. Is this a reference to Jesus? Maybe, right? Because of the blood, not the wine and the bread, the blood and the body, right? The Eucharist. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? The one thing that like kind of could go along with that is like the eggs in the little nest, right? Because what's just around the corner? Easter. And there's a reason that eggs are part of Easter, that it's about like rebirth and blah 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 blah. So yeah, so I mean, like there do seem to be some interesting themes in here of like life and death and rebirth and abundance, fecundity, you know, all that good stuff. We know that like, you know, fruit is always going to be a symbol of fertility and fecundity and wealth and all these things. I even went to a little lecture about this earlier this year, hoping that they would like have some good things. And I know I screenshot, I didn't realize we were going to do this piece today. Oh, there it is. Or not a screenshot. I took a picture of one of the things. Yeah, there's really nothing that I was like, this is maybe the most interesting part of it. And there's really nothing that interesting here. One thing, not specifically this painting wise, is that Rachel Roish was such a famous artist even at the time. She would make more money than, I think she was even making more than Vermeer. Her stuff was really, really popular and she did incredibly well. You know, a lot of the time we're like, oh, well, we don't talk about female artists because like they didn't do well. It's like, yeah, they did. Artemisia Gentileschi did incredibly well as an artist. We just suck and don't talk about women. So yeah. There's nothing else important to say about this. Okay. Oh, look, here's some close-ups. We didn't look at any close-ups. Also, if lizard feet are really that long, I never want to see a lizard. Okay, great. That's this piece. Let's look at her other stuff. Flowers. This is what she's known for. These like really dark, but still with this like a, this is going to sound weird, but like a darkly vibrant kind of color of the flowers. Like it's not like neon, right? It's not that kind of vibrant, but like a muted vibrance. That just sounds like an oxymoron. But yeah, this is really what she's known for, these sort of like dark backgrounds with bright flowers. And then she also, you know, here's a ladybug. She throws other stuff in there, butterfly. We're done, we did it. I'm gonna have lunch. I don't know. What am I gonna eat? Who cares? I'll figure it out. Okay, so I'll post this. And I'll send you guys a message about like remind and stuff. Okay, cool. I love you all. Bye bye.